sold at auction a few years ago with RM Sotheby's, I think in 2017, 2018, for around $1.3 million. And if you had to ask me, that was a steal then. You talk about a Ferrari Monza today between 3 and 4 million. A McLaren Elva, I think they're over $2 million. And this is a true one-off from Lamborghini that was way ahead of its time. Super usable, super cool, and just completely a iconic piece of Lamborghini's history. We don't always have these opportunities in life, but today is a surreal morning because we are driving a true one-off, a unicorn, a show car and prototype that would have had the opportunity to potentially be a limited production car. And unfortunately, that was never realized. And maybe we start this video, everybody always comments about how I pronounce the term Gallardo. And if you were actually in Italy or anywhere else in the world, it would be Gallardo. But as you guys may know, and I've been corrected many times, Lamborghinis are named after Spanish fighting bulls. So really, this term would be Gallardo. So I'm not an expert in the Spanish language or Italian language, but we are driving the Lamborghini Gallardo Concept S, a true one of one. What's so special about this car is, you know, this really was way ahead of its time. When you think today that Ferrari has created cars like the Monza, and you have Aston Martin with their Speedster, and you have the McLaren Elva. You have all these cars that don't have a roof. And this car, it came out in 2005 at the Geneva Auto Show. It was first unveiled as really just a concept. And the response was so great at the time that Lamborghini decided to go ahead with a limited production run of 100 cars. Now, this car was the first of 100, chassis 001. It was actually shown at Pebble Beach, unveiled at Concours Italiano in August of that year. And what's so interesting is that at some point, Lamborghini decided that, you know, whatever production costs were going to be too great, and that essentially this car would not go into production. Now, this was the only running, this actual car was the only running example that was ever produced. It was later shown again at Pebble Beach, and we were lucky enough last year to actually purchase this. I believe it was in the hands of 3 collectors over those years. And what a cool experience, again, to be driving a car like this, a show car, a one of one, and a car that's just, to me, absolutely stunning and beautiful. Now, I think the most special part about this car is this car marks a moment in Lamborghini's history that we have to talk about. This is a moment that, you know, especially with the passing of the late Marcello Gandini, you know, I look at Gandini as one of the most important artists of our time. When you think of his impact in the automotive world, and you think of his impact, you think of cars like the Strada Zero, you think of cars like the Carrabba, the Countach, the Mura. You think of cars like, you know, I could go on and on and on of all these important designs, the Lamborghini Diablo, the Bugatti EV110. that he penned, cars that changed the world and inspired supercars forever. And then you look at this important period in Lamborghini's history where I'm super excited because this designer reached out to us recently, Luke Donkervolk, and I apologize if I butchered his name. I even tried to research a little, and he laughs and talks about his family name being almost impossible to pronounce. But when he joined Lamborghini after the purchase of Volkswagen Audi Group in 1998, he just did some remarkable things. And I think he did this perfect job of honoring the past, honoring Gandini's designs, but bringing them into the present. Everything he did was not busy. It was like these beautiful lines. And there was a great interview I was doing research about his design of the Murcielago, and his goal was to illustrate the car in the line of the Countach, this iconic DNA of Lamborghini, but at the same time have the curves and the sexiness of the Miura. And I think that's part in reason because it's my understanding that Luke actually personally owned or still owns a Lamborghini Miura, I believe a Miura S, a red car. So you have this designer, he also did the Diablo 6.0, which perfectly captures this modern version of the Diablo GT, which is, while insane and sort of extravagant and ostentatious, it is perfectly beautiful. And then obviously this car that we're driving, and Luke talks about, we will interview him. He did reach out to me. I'm super honored that he reached out to us. But when he designed this car, his goal was to embody this 60s and 70s period, 50s period of racing cars, but with two cockpits. And I think the lines of this car are so perfect, they're so beautiful, and this driving experience of no roof is just completely awesome. This is the first time I drive this car. What an experience, I have to say. Now, you should probably be using a helmet while driving this car. I've got my sunglasses and a hat on. And such an easy car to use when we're talking about a prototype. I mean, this is definitely a car you want a helmet for. I've got to hold on to my hat, I will lose it. What did I say? This is not going to be my best hair day. But what a car to be cruising in Miami, a true Lamborghini one-off. And I think what's awesome about this car is the fact that it's based on a Gallardo. It's completely usable. You could drive it. We're gonna put it in sport mode. And you've gotta love the way these early Gallardo engines sound. I mean, this 5-liter, I know the later engines of the Gallardo, the LP cars, they're much more reliable, those engines, and they're a little bit more robust. They've got a higher horsepower, but the sound of these early 5-liter engines is just fantastic. What an experience to be in Miami, a surreal moment as a car enthusiast, a car nerd inside, to be driving this car here on the causeway. It's almost like piloting a motorcycle. I think what's so special about this car, and we had the opportunity to buy this car late last year and sell it to a very young collector, is that this car is usable. It is road legal. It's currently plated and insured. So how many prototypes or one-offs could you drive? And really, you could bring this to your local Lamborghini dealer and have this car serviced with a normal Gallardo service kit. So really just a spectacular piece of Lamborghini history and something really fun for someone. What's funny is this is probably, I'm not gonna go too fast because these are probably its first break-in miles. This car has only 227 kilometers. And I think it's only been driven by a few people in this world. Steven Winkleman, the CEO of Lamborghini, Luke Donkervok, and probably a few other people. So it's really a privilege to be driving it. We've just hit about 160 miles, maybe 162 miles today total. So this car will get used, it will get driven, which I think is really important to share it with people, to share it with this next generation. But again, when you look at the history of this car and what Luke did during those years at Lamborghini, it's about pure lines, celebrating the DNA of Lamborghini, but in a beautiful way. I mean, you look at this car and you really look at the features. I mean, really, it is a base production car on the bottom, but everything else from, you could say this door line up is different. The front bumper is unique. The front hood is unique. Obviously, this center section here, the two roll bars behind my seat, the pearl white interior accents, the steering wheel, and then there's this cool little panel that flips up here in the middle with 3 gauges. Obviously, the windscreen is all different. The rear hood is still functional and it is different. It's funny, when we were servicing it, we raised the rear hood and you can actually see through the hood, which was a feature that was on no other Gallardos. The turning radius is not great on this car at all. And we are off here, and you're probably gonna lose me again. 500 plus horsepower from this V10 engine. And then the whole rear treatment of this car is completely different, but the tail lights are the same, the headlights are the same, and it's very cool. You've got people pulling up to you, giving you a thumbs up. I think most people have no clue what this car is. They just look at it and they're like, what is that? And appreciate you for taking it out on the street. This car has similar wheels to the 0405 Gallardo, but they are like this polished material. So very, very similar and not a complete change from the production car. Wow, and the sound. When you accelerate this car, you hear the suction of the intakes when you have no roof. Completely cool, completely ahead of its time. I look at this period of design from Luke and Lamborghini. You've got the Murcielago, the original Barchetta, which became the Murcielago Roadster. You've got the Concept S. You have the Murcielago RGT, which we're fortunate enough to have and have sold. And you have all these really, really significant, important cars during this period. You have the Murcielago, which to me is just becoming this timeless car. I mean, when it first came out, I will say it was almost shocking, but as you look at that car, it just has aged so well. So we have all these great cars. My opinion is one day we're gonna look back on this period and it is gonna be looked at as one of Lamborghini's golden eras of design. And I'm not just saying this because I want an interview with Luke. Unfortunately, production was canceled of this car because the cost of production was feared to be too high. But today, cars like this, they pop up all the time and manufacturers are consumed by producing these limited edition cars. So way ahead of its time from a technology point of view, engineering point of view, design point of view, concept point of view. And I really think that we're gonna look back at the Gandinis in this period. You know, I call it from Miura, post Lamborghini Miura on, as the greatest automotive period of our time. I think the way we talk about modern art and the way we talk about the great masters and certain artists, we will talk about these same automotive visionaries as well. rough week. I'm getting over a cold, but to be able to share this with you guys and to have this experience, to share the car, share the story of this car, and really to be driving it, one of the few people in the world to be driving this and sharing this is just completely surreal. So I thank all of you for continuing to watch, continuing to support and love the things we do. Do not forget to like, do not forget to subscribe, and hopefully we will have a interview coming from the famous, great Luke Dunkerwalk coming very soon.